Thanks for having me, Alex. So I am Leah Wald. I am the CEO of Valkyrie. Today is exciting because we launched the second Bitcoin Futures ETF. So it's definitely a big day for Bitcoin and a big day for the team.
Absolutely. Can you describe how it's a big day for Bitcoin? We've been waiting for an institutional kind of investment vehicle, and you're here.
Yay. Yeah. And since it's Bitcoin Mag, we can go nice and maximalist. I know a lot of people aren't that excited about a futures ETF. So happy to discuss all of the nuances there. I think that no matter what, it's a very exciting day for Bitcoin because a lot of institutions have been on the sideline waiting for a vehicle that they're comfortable with, or even just simply put, a vehicle that they can invest in. And right now, unfortunately, physical underlying Bitcoin, a lot of pockets of wealth that, again, have been sitting on the sidelines just simply can't buy it right now. So I think the ETF is great for the ecosystem because you do have that ability to get, large institutions, but generally speaking, just a lot of different people who haven't known how, start to wade into the industry. So we get some no coiners, new coiners, and, they'll drop down the rabbit hole pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is without a doubt a net positive, not just for the Bitcoin ecosystem, but I think for the world, because this is putting, you know, Bitcoin front and center. It's awfully hard to walk around today and know nothing about Bitcoin. I think it's going to help with adoption and education in general. So maybe can you go into how you decided to launch this ETF, and how, or perhaps why you had to go the futures route as opposed to the spot route?
Yeah, absolutely. So we filed our Bitcoin spot ETF on January 22nd. So we were second after VanEck. So we've had a Bitcoin ETF filed with the SEC for quite a while now. We then confidentially filed a Bitcoin futures ETF in what's called a 33 Act wrapper a couple months ago. And that was just because we were trying to read the tea leaves of what Chairman Gensler has been saying. He made it pretty explicit that, futures, specifically CME futures, is what he was comfortable with. So we filed that. And then we again filed a new Bitcoin futures ETF in what's called a 40 Act wrapper, because again, he seemed to express that that was his wrapper of choice. So really just trying to listen to everything we can from Washington and pivot accordingly to try to get our application out there. But we do still have that spot Bitcoin ETF application in as well. And, we do hope that we get there one day, but we think that unfortunately, it may be a bit, we may be waiting a bit for the spot Bitcoin ETF. So.
Yeah, but slowly then suddenly, I think. And this is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely. Well,
it will.
and not so slow, right? I mean, the cool thing is just the activity for this past week for trading has just been enormous. And I think it signals in a really powerful way to the world that, this Bitcoin ETF that we've been waiting for really does have the demand that we expected and thought. And a lot of people, retail and institution, really were indeed waiting to buy in. So I think that it's suddenly right now, it kind of feels like, the swarm has come. But I think you're right. With that said, we still have a long road to go. And I think it's just going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped for this. So what makes a business like yours different from a pro shares? One thing that excites me about Valkyrie is you're going to be a lot closer, to the heart of what Bitcoiners want, in the sense that you probably know more about the Bitcoin environment, and you've probably, done your homework a little more than maybe a pro shares.
Yeah, definitely. We think that actually is our edge, is that, we love Bitcoin. We're Bitcoiners. We're Bitcoiners through and through. We have a good relationship with Bitcoin Magazine in Nashville, where our headquarters is as well. So you guys can vet just how much we love talking about Bitcoin ad nausea. The big difference is ProShares most definitely is a bit of an ETF mill. They're asset managers first and foremost. I'd say we're crypto natives, first and foremost. Our team has the Wall Street background, the expertise of launching these ETFs, but we are a crypto asset management shop. We're comfortable talking about mining or running full nodes or yelling about oracles all day long. I don't think that we would catch our competitors talking about those things.
Right. So you're appealing to, Bitcoiners who might be in institutions who need easy in and out access, or what is your target audience for your product, do you think?
Yeah, to say an egalitarian answer, I think that the product is structured in a way that it could be interesting for anyone, whether it's pensions or sovereign wealth funds to Bitcoiners alike. Now, I think a lot of Bitcoiners will just buy Bitcoin and they don't need an ETF, except for maybe in their retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs. It does make sense. But I think that overwhelmingly so, institutions and again, kind of on the family office front and hedge fund front actually do very much vote with their hearts as well. And there's a lot of Bitcoiners out there that just haven't been able to, again, without this vehicle that they can allocate to. So I think it'll be fun to see just how many hidden Bitcoiners, have been at the wirehouses and at these larger institutions, secretly waiting out for having the ability to choose and having the ability to support the ecosystem. And, I think they're going to come out in numbers. But to your point, I think that, anyone could buy our ETF, but I do think that hopefully it resonates with more in the crypto community that understand that end of the day, the importance for us is furthering the ecosystem.
Excellent. So what implications do you think this has for Bitcoin in terms of near-term price? For example, do you think all this ETF madness that's going on this week is responsible for the new all-time high? Did you make the new all-time high?
I mean, it's really exciting, right? I think that it is a bunch of healthy demand. I think it's been pent up demand, excited for this ETF, institutions on the sideline. I'm not concerned. We're not concerned at Valkyrie about this correction right now. We think it's also healthy because it was just such massive volumes this week. So we were expecting a pullback, but to your greater point, I don't know if it's the ETFs being released or just general consensus around the adoption curve really, taking off for Bitcoin right now and it getting that validation that I think the price is going to continue to rise. I mean, we're definitely very bullish. So, we'll see how this plays out, but I'm definitely a happy girl right now with how things are going. And I'm sure that everybody in the community is with these all-time highs. It feels euphoric, right?
Yeah, it's exciting, but also a little bit devastating when you look at what you get for your dollar now when you go and make a Bitcoin purchase. Like,
I know. Even with the denomination of Satoshis and all that's being done with the branding and everything, I think it'll take me a bit in order to denominate in Satoshis, sats, but it does sound big, even though all of us know you can buy a fraction now, you can buy ETF, whatever. It does sound really big. I mean, it's exciting when you've been in for a while, like you have, right? And you just remember it at a more palpable level. And it's completely unrealistic because, again, of course, we could buy $20 worth, but it's mind blowing in a way, right? It's pretty cool.
it is. So I wonder, just from your position, is it hard to think of Bitcoin on Bitcoin's terms just because you're so busy with a business that's probably largely settled in fiat? So do you get caught up in the Bitcoin price, or are you still Bitcoiner at heart. How does that work for you?
Totally Bitcoiner at heart. So the ETF is just one of the products that we have. We also have a Bitcoin trust, and we denominate in Bitcoin. So the AUM is holding physical Bitcoin in custody right now. That was launched on January 1st, still exists, very similar to GBTC, but still a private fund. So that one's pretty cool. And end of the day, our AUM is tied to crypto. So, whatever that amount is, we're thinking in Bitcoin terms because our AUM is rising or dropping according to whatever the price activity is. But I think your bigger question is, will the physical still always be my baby? And I think that that's true. I definitely love playing with any of NVK's cold cards when they come out, or the latest hardware wallets. I have a Trezor cold card and quite a few others. I mean, anything that comes out, I like playing with. So
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I don't personally have fun with physical, even if, the ETFs are a bit more synthetic right now with the futures. But, even in our crypto trust, we're holding the underlying, having fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it all comes back to that. Like I said, either way you look at it, from an institutional investment standpoint to, your Bitcoin hodling pleb, I think this is good for adoption, and this can by proxy help bank more people that had no real access to like final settlement, or their own private wealth that can't be confiscated. So what are
Totally.
you thinking about? This is kind of out of left field, but I'm sure you've been keeping up. What do you think about El Salvador?
So I actually went to El Salvador in 2006, was the last time I was in El Salvador. So I'd love to get back down there soon. But I
Yeah.
was in a very rural village and we were building an ecotourism business to help the population there. And I just remember seeing firsthand, that was really my first time working in economic development and seeing again a population that had just zero access to, financial institutions or even the capacity in the villages to reach those financial institutions. I mean, it was just not at all possible. So the idea and the understanding of what's been created in El Salvador is just remarkable. I mean, I have those, I love El Salvador. The largest population diaspora of Salvadorians is actually where I grew up. So pupusas were a modern staple for me growing up. But it's so incredible to think that from what I saw to what we're seeing today, that we've come that far and that Bitcoin has made that happen is just amazing. I mean, it just makes me very excited. And from my background, most of my career was in economic development in different areas. Whether it was from, the World Bank or working for other nonprofit organizations. And I just, have always been attracted to Bitcoin from the very beginning because of its use cases in financial inclusion in the developing world. And I just can't believe we're seeing it play out just, in front of our eyes. And it's just the first, right? I mean, we all know that it's all coming, and we just have to be patient. And I think that's something cool about our community, is that we understand that there's a bit of a waiting game for everybody to understand as well and catch on to our beliefs and understanding of the power and beauty and perfection of Bitcoin. So, it's coming. It's coming. The swarm is here.
um yeah, absolutely. The from a game theoretic standpoint, like, the global politics they have to play out now. Somebody else has to adopt. And I would guess that nations are accumulating quietly. I mean, there's no reason they have to make it public.
I definitely don't disagree. I mean, and also again, with these ETFs, it becomes much easier. These vehicles again are just a very good springboard. And custodying Bitcoin is, a complicated thing for a lot of people, unless you start getting more comfortable with the technology, or, you're evangelized that we're a bit tech nerds, that we like playing with it, right? But that's not always the case for a large CFO or treasurer of a sovereign nation. So I think that, this is a good way for everybody to get their feet wet. And I do think that whether they go, all the way to the end of the spectrum like El Salvador and make it national tender, or they start accumulating in their treasury reserves, it's coming. I think we just have to be patient and help with the education like you're doing.
Absolutely. What role or place does Lightning hold for your company or for you personally? Are you interested in Lightning?
Yeah, Giacomo Zucco taught me how to run a Lightning node at the
Nice.
Unconfiscatable conference a few years ago. Not to say I am an expert by any means, but I will say the interest is definitely there. Definitely love playing with any applications or companies that have integrated Lightning as well. In regards to our company, it doesn't yet have a place, simply because our products are just holding the physical Bitcoin, not really making any transactions. It's just buy and hold strategies. And again, this ETF is Bitcoin futures, right? However, I will put a call out to your listeners that if they can figure out a cool way that we can integrate Lightning in some way into our company, super game.
Yeah, why not, right? It's like yeah, with companies that aren't accepting Bitcoin right now, it just puts you at a drastic disadvantage. So you have to have all doors open on those fronts.
Well, and it's just such a fascinating technology. I mean, I think for our industry with asset management, I'm more following some of the developments with Liquid, just because of those developments utilizing exchanges. And obviously, big fan of Blockstream. For Lightning, now we have incredible pioneers as well, from Stark and Lightning Labs to, to everybody. It just has been maybe a bit more difficult beyond the day-to-day, paying myself for things, to integrate it for asset management. But I really do hope that, there's a leap more there too for exchanges and other platforms like ours to be able to use Lightning.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, there are so many good competitors in the space, or people just trying to figure out how to bring more products to market. And I think ultimately that's just a great, like, all Bitcoiners win, especially when there's multiple ETFs, when there's, all kinds of different financial
Totally.
products, we all win. So it's great.
Totally. Really, and sorry, my dog is looking at me like, please let me inside. Um, it's definitely a good thing. I think all the developments, whether there's so many different, wallets, iOS app wallets, to hardware wallets, to other infrastructure providers and asset managers. We're not the only one, for sure. To now, quite a few other ETFs are going to be launched next week. But I agree with you, in the nature of capitalism and competition, it is only going to develop our markets and develop our industry further. So I think it's a good thing.
And finally, the fun question. Any price
Ooh,
predictions out of you for to the end
yeah,
of the year and maybe next year? What are you thinking? Where are we going?
absolutely. This is an easy one. One Bitcoin will always equal one Bitcoin.
Excellent. Yeah, you can't argue with that.
I
I think that's the
can't get in
answer.
trouble with that either.
No, you can't get in trouble. I think everybody will be very content with that answer. Yeah.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how things play out this quarter. But, one Bitcoin will always be equal to one Bitcoin. Thanks for having me on, by the way, Alex.